Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. Sounds so positive. A new beginning. It's like springtime, but with boobs and murder. And be sure to check out the first 4 videos in this series or else you will just be completely lost. Friday the 13th, Part 5 begins with Tommy Jarvis visiting Jason's grave in the middle of the night, when he's interrupted by 2 grave robbers who are way too excited to be digging up Jason's dead body.
Dick, come on, faster!
And I mean, let's be honest, Jason probably smelled like absolute death when he was alive, so I can only imagine what his rotting corpse smells like. And also, it's pretty obvious that their goal is to have sex with Jason's lifeless body, right? Like, we can all agree on that? Luckily, we don't have to find out because Jason comes to life and murders them.
Oh, Jason feels so refreshed. What? Oh, Jason spies with his one good eye. Jason's good friend Tommy. Sorry about that whole thing with killing your mother. Jason gets weird around groups. Jason apparently part of your dream. This is odd.
It's a good thing it turns out to be a dream because having Jason come to life with no explanation would have been pretty dumb. And being dumb would be so out of character for a new beginning. We pick up 5 years after the events of Part 4 and we learn that Tommy has been in and out of mental hospitals ever since. Tommy is being transported to the Pinehurst Youth Development Center, which is a facility that helps troubled kids re-enter society. The center is run by Dr. Letter, whom you might recognize as the guy that Indiana Jones met one time and was like, you know what? I'm going to dress and act just like this guy for the rest of my life. And his assistant Pam Roberts, who met everyone's Aunt Janice one time and said, you know what? I'm going to dress like her for the rest of my life. I don't know. There's actually nothing wrong with the way that she's dressed.
Thank you.
Anytime, doll.
Man, people in the medical profession are not well represented in this franchise. One of the first people Tommy meets is Reggie the Reckless. Reggie's not a patient, but his grandfather's a cook at Pinehurst. The police show up to let Dr. Letter know that they found 2 of his patients having sex on the Hubbard property. And Ethel Hubbard and her son Junior are furious, and they make thinly veiled domestic terrorist threats.
Comes near my farm, I'm gonna blow your brains out. I got a bomb on me.
You know, as a kid, I hated Ethel and her son Junior for being uptight psychos. But the older I get, I'm like, you know what? I don't want a bunch of teenagers having sex on my property either. You know, these teens, they come over, they have sex in my yard, and then they have the nerve to make fun of my big flowery sun hat. You know what, kids? I like to garden, and I burn easily. And plus, they don't really make big sun hats that aren't flowery. I've looked. So Ethel and Junior are justified in that regard, but they suck in literally every other aspect of their lives. One of the residents of Pinehurst is the lovable goof Joey. He's always covered in chocolate and just getting all kinds of wacky hijinks.
Hi, Vic. Can I help you with the wood today?
Here we go. Oh, what kind of a mess is Joey gonna get into this time? Let me guess, he's gonna slip while holding the axe and split his pants or something. Oh my god! Okay, so Joey's story just ends here. Good God. So the paramedics arrive and everyone is horrified at the sight of Joey's mutilated body, except for yet another awful healthcare professional. At least this guy seems horrified, although maybe a little too horrified. I mean, he is a paramedic, you do see this stuff all the time, so you really should be more professional. So we really need like a paramedic who's somewhere in between these two. So that night, 2 understudies from the local community theater production of Grease break down on the way to rehearsals, and there's Pete, who is clearly vying for the role of Danny Zuko, even though he's unable to realistically portray the vulnerability that comes with such a role, and he heads deep into the woods to take a poop. And then you have Vinny, who tried out for the role of Kaneki, but was instead cast as 3rd alternate for duty, and he gets killed by an unknown assailant with a road flare. Pete comes back and is immediately killed, which is sort of a blessing because then Pete doesn't have to read the reviews of his opening night performance, which will include the phrase, "The actor playing Danny made me think of Grease all right, namely by me wishing that a grease fire would mercifully burn the theater to the ground." Man, no one is cattier than a theater critic. So they don't show the killer because I guess they're trying to make it seem as though maybe Tommy is actually murdering people this time around, which is silly, right? I mean, it's clearly Jason. It'd be pretty stupid to have anyone else be the killer. Like, just plain dumb. Tommy begins to have an episode and he sees Jason standing in the mirror.
Oh no, Tommy has to help Jason. I'm trapped in some kind of fiery ghost place. And there's a weirdo with knife fingers and I think he wants to touch Jason's wiener. No, don't go!
A drifter comes to the Hubbard farm looking for work. Now this could be interesting. Like maybe this drifter will come to the aid of one of Jason's victims and die heroically, or even possibly emerge as one of the main protagonists. Or he gets killed spying on some people having sex. Like he was literally just introduced to be murdered. Like how much do you think that guy got paid for that? Like what was the going rate for Jason fodder in the 80s? Like $100? The police come upon the scene and have to try to figure out,
You talking to me, Sheriff?
no, Roy, is it?
I thought you was talking to me.
Well, no one was. Weird paramedic man. Are you the producer's brother or something? How do you have so many lines? It's weird because usually paramedics get one line apiece.
Looks like we got us a maniac on the loose.
Roy, get out of the shot.
We then meet Lana and Billy, who are going to do drugs and have sex, and they're dead. I learned their names and everything, and they're just dead. And you know, I'm honestly surprised these characters even have names. Alright, let's move on to the next victims. Eddie and Tina go to the Hubbard property to have sex, and the killer stabs Tina in the face with hedge clippers and squeezes Eddie's head against a tree until it pops, I guess. Good God, Jason. Like, all these murders are brutal, but this one seems extra somehow. Like, they don't even show it. The practical effect guys were like, no, it's too gross, we don't want to do that. Pam takes Reggie and Tommy to go see Reggie's brother Demon, and whoa, guys, let's take it easy on the string section. These people are not currently in any danger, nor do they have any reason to think that they are. Like, how about something from the brass section? Ooh, there we go. Let's keep it light in between the brutal killings. It doesn't have to be frenetic and ominous the whole time. So Demon lives in a van with his girlfriend, and he has lots of drugs and food available.
Hey, you heading to dinner? Have enchilada. You want a taco? Egg roll? What about a slice of pizza?
Thank you.
Cheese and sausage?
Like, lots of drugs and food. Junior shows up and starts giving Tommy crap.
Were you dumb or something?
And you know, having someone like Junior Hubbard ask you if you're dumb or something has to be a low point for Tommy. I mean, at least tied with the violent murder of his mom, you know, and then the time that he had to violently murder his mom's murderer. So let's just say like top 5 in terms of low points. Probably definitely the lowest point today. And in one of the most satisfying moments in franchise history, Tommy royally F's Junior up. So they visit with Demon for a few minutes and take off. Alright, so a quick introduction for Demon. And then I guess they're going to have him show up just in the nick of time to save Reggie from Jason or something. You know, he could even possibly die heroically while saving everybody. You know, that could be pretty interesting. Or you could just do Demon completely wrong. Poor Demon. He's just a guy who loved his brother and getting high and eating enchiladas in his van with his girlfriend. Reggie and Pam make it back to Pinehurst without Tommy for some reason. And they find out that Dr. Letter and Reggie's grandfather are now also missing.
Well, where's Tommy?
Good question, Jake. We don't know. But then Pam goes back out to try to find everybody. And Jason kills Junior and Ethel. And that's it. Next scene. Jake and Robin are watching a movie together when Jake professes his love for her.
I wanna make love with you.
And you know what? Good for you, Jake. We should all just kind of let down our guards every now and then and try to make some real human connections. Oh, God. Oh, abort, Jake. Abort! Try to backpedal and then never open up to anyone ever again. Oh, man. Oh, and Jake's dead. And phew, they almost had something resembling character development. Dodge that bullet. You know, I read that the main goal for the director of this movie was to have someone be murdered every 7 minutes. Maybe they should have at least had 1 or 2 more goals before filming this thing. And since Jake is dead, there's no need for Robin anymore, so she is quickly dispatched. And then across the hall to deal with Violet, because a rando hasn't been murdered in like 30 seconds. Yeah, is this what people did before the internet? Poor Violet, we hardly knew you. Literally, we knew nothing about you except right near the end, when we learned you liked to dance. That was nice. Pam and Reggie find the dead bodies and race to get out of the house when... Boom shakalaka, surprise, you dumb broad. It's me, Jason Voorhees, back from the dead. Oh, Jason's back. And he has apparently added some new words to his limited vocabulary. It's an interesting development. Gah, kid, that hurt my frickin' ears. Old Jason caught some shrapnel in his ear during Nam. He's been suffering from hyperacusis ever since. Reggie then remembers survival rule number 1. He doesn't have to outrun Jason. He just has to outrun Pam. And does he ever? I mean, Reggie is gone. Oh, God, these coveralls are really smashing Jason's junk here. I'm sorry, Pam, but your cries for Reggie are falling on deaf ears. I should have worn my frickin' galoshes. I didn't know it was gonna frickin' rain tonight. So Jason catches up to Pam and is about to kill her when Reggie saves the day. Oh, you ran that frickin' thing right into Jason's nuts. Ah, God, and you ripped my frickin' slacks. Oh, God, I am really hurt. Jason's not doing too hot. So Jason has Pam and Reggie trapped in the barn when Tommy finally shows up for the epic showdown. Oh, yeah, if it isn't my old friend Timmy. Tommy! Oh, shit, I mean Tommy. Tommy looks like he's down for the count until he drives a knife into Jason's leg. Oh, that was dangerously close to Jason's nutsack. Tommy climbs up into the hayloft with Jason in gingerly pursuit. Jason's getting too old for this garbage. Gotta climb up a frickin' ladder. And to top it all off, I think I got horse poop in my knife wound. That can't be good. Oh, you're a feisty dame, ain't ya? You remind me of another Pam I used to mess around with back in the day. Pam E.V. was her name. She was built like a brick house, and she used to manhandle old hey, I'm Jason. My ding-dong looks weird and whatnot. Just then, Reggie jumps out of the rafters and knocks Jason just slightly over the edge. Oh, frick. Jason's slipping. Stop squirming, Reginald. Jason can't get a grip here. Tommy comes to and chops off Jason's arm, and Jason gets impaled on some farm equipment that looks like its sole purpose was to impale people who fall from the tops of barns. And what the hell? Who the hell is that? So we learn from the sheriff that this is the paramedic Roy. Remember this dude? And evidently Roy was the father of Joey. Remember this dude? And when Roy saw his son's mutilated body, he took on the persona of Jason and killed 17 people. Like 17. And, you know, like Jason has always had like a supernatural bent about him, but Roy is just some dude. Like he should not have been able to kill 17 people. And like he appeared just as strong and strangely omnipresent as Jason always was. But I guess unlike Jason, he also couldn't be fooled by someone putting on glasses and pretending to be like Jason's Uncle Dan or some shit. So he did have that going for him. So Tommy is lying in a hospital bed when, holy hell, he kills Pam. And, oh, it was just a dream. Just then, the real Jason is standing in his room.
Don't worry, Tommy. You can find Jason at the end of the rainbow. Follow the white unicorn. Find me before it's too late, Tommy. Bring my mother's head.
That's also still kind of a dream or a flashback or whatever. Okay. So then Pam comes into the room and... So are they implying that Tommy is the new Jason, or is this also supposed to be a dream? Or what? Because if it is a dream, it's like the third dream sequence in 20 seconds. God, and that's it. All right. You know, I clearly was too young to remember this, but were people just super pissed when this movie came out? They had to be, right? All right, Friday the 13th Part 5. This was definitely an entry in the Friday the 13th franchise. All right, stay safe out there. Don't touch your face.